Here in the U.S., rebooting the nation's semiconductor industry is a top priority, but foreign help is required to make strides. Global chipmaker TSMC makes about 90% of the world's most sophisticated chips, the same kind that provide the speed and muscle for AI. TSMC says it plans to invest about $40 billion to build a new plant in Arizona, but production challenges are creating long delays. CGTN's Hendrik Sibrandi reports.
In the heat of the Arizona desert, work on Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company's computer chip plant is going full bore. Local residents are still coming to grips with this brand new project in North Phoenix.
And I just don't understand why there's a plant here that's going to require water, and where are they going to get it from?
It has provided many of them with construction jobs.
Bring in the businesses. I'm good with that.
The U.S. government is good with it, too. New chip plants will help promote U.S. self-reliance and help prevent supply chain disruptions, says Ravi Shankar of the University of Colorado Boulder.
This is a very, very big deal for the economy, for Arizona.
But storm clouds are hovering over the project, as reported recently by Taiwanese television.
Meanwhile, in the U.S. state of Arizona, the construction of TSMC's first American chip plant is well behind schedule.
TSMC's chairman announced,
"We expect the production schedule of N4 process technology to be pushed out to 2025.
The problem, TSMC says, is the lack of a skilled workforce with the expertise needed to install specialized equipment. The company says it'll require hundreds of experienced technicians from Taiwan.
This is highly specialized. Everything from the electrical to the plumbing to how the air moves around inside the building.
Work that many American laborers haven't been trained to do.
From a pure skill perspective, either you have it or you don't.
The prospect of hundreds of Taiwanese workers arriving to speed plant construction has prompted a call to block TSMC employee visas. Arizona Pipe Trades Local 469 has urged members to call elected officials to demand they protect American jobs. The union would not comment for this story, but their concerns have gained some traction.
I'd just like to see American work, American companies. I don't think we need foreign entities involved.
Shankar says training a local labor force will take a while. Recreating a semiconductor industry the U.S. once dominated won't happen overnight.
This is a very complex, very complicated business.
Hendrik Sibrandi, CGTN, Phoenix.
Complex and complicated also sums up the relationship between the U.S. and China. That includes their relationship when it comes to tech. The White House recently banned some U.S. investment in Chinese technology, particularly in military and defense companies. To help us discuss, I'm joined now by Jeff Moon. He's the president of China Moon Strategies. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on with us today. So this U.S. executive order is fairly limited in its scope. It's focused on protecting U.S. national security and preventing the U.S. from any unintentional involvement in helping China advance its military technology. What's in that order that you can tell us about that goes beyond controls already in place?
Well, there are no controls in place currently on outbound investment. There have been controls on inbound investment for decades through what's called the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, which was initiated by President Ford. So this is the beginning of the process of regulating outbound investment, and nothing has happened so far. There was an executive order that was issued by President Biden, which orders the Treasury Department to develop regulations for implementing this new regime. And it will take about a year for that to happen and before they come into effect.
And already some critics have blasted the plan, saying it doesn't go far enough. And then others say there's too much U.S. government overreach that's happening. What's your opinion? And could the U.S. find themselves shut out of some lucrative opportunities while allies like the EU and Japan, for example, possibly fill the void created by stricter U.S. controls?
Well, I don't think the U.S. is going to get shut out. This is aimed at China's military-civilian fusion plan, which specifically uses civilian technologies to develop military capabilities. So I don't think we're fearful of losing that. This is just the beginning, this executive order. And as I said, the Treasury Department is going to scope it out more. if there are some people that criticize and some people, for various reasons on both ends of the spectrum, then maybe you got it right by being in the middle. There are more things that could happen as we go down the road. There could be more technologies that are covered by this. Currently, this executive order covers only active investment, not passive investment. It does not look at things retroactively. So as you said at the top, it is fairly narrow, but there are critics in Congress, especially hawks, that want a lot more.
If Beijing does feel agitated and China retaliates, how could they do that? And what could the consequences be for Washington and Beijing in an escalating tit-for-tat, if you will?
Well, Beijing has already retaliated for some of the sanctions that the U.S. has imposed. It has banned the sale of certain micron chips. It has imposed export controls on some critical minerals, gallium and germanium. And just last week, China failed to approve a merger between Intel and Tower, an Israeli company, which may have been some sort of retaliation. China could expand the retaliation to other products that the U.S. needs, for example, but I really don't think that that will change the overall strategic picture. And also, I think that any retaliation would really backfire. It could provoke additional U.S. restrictions, limiting additional technologies or activities, and also more aggressive Chinese behavior would further strengthen the efforts and the resolve of allies in both Asia and Europe to push back on Chinese economic aggression. So I really don't think that this is in China's best interests.
Which leads me to the next question, which is, how does this order impact then how other U.S. allies navigate the same issue? And do you think there's a case for some kind of cohesive multilateral agreement on investing in Chinese sensitive tech so that no one is sort of losing out on investment opportunities in China or that they step too far?
Well, ideally, everyone would work multilaterally. That would be most effective. There are some countries that already have these kinds of outbound restrictions. Taiwan already has outbound restrictions on investment internationally and specifically into China. Korea does too. The EU is considering a measure right now that probably won't come out till the end of the year. And Britain has said that it might consider something as well. So I think you're onto something. I think this is a concept that is moving forward, but we just need to see how it plays out.
And then I want to switch gears really quickly just to get your reaction to the news that Japan's SoftBank has bought Vision Fund's stake in UK ARM, which is a huge chip player. It gives ARM a $64 billion valuation ahead of its IPO, set to be the biggest of the year. What does it say about how high the stakes are in chip and AI investment?
Well, I think what it says, it reflects a couple of things. One is that the semiconductor sector is incredibly dynamic and things are changing. Just last February, or February of 2022, NVIDIA was trying to acquire ARM. And that merger didn't go through. So it's really dynamic. It also shows how international the semiconductor sector is. ARM is a British company, and SoftBank is a Japanese company, and they bought out the interest of a Middle Eastern company. So the semiconductor sector and the various subsectors are extremely complicated. Producing semiconductors is one of the most complicated things we as humans could do. And this transaction reflects both how complicated that is, how important semiconductors are, and how quickly the industry is changing.
It definitely has the attention of the world. We'll have to leave it there. Great discussion, Jeff Moon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.